A lot of people talk about when they were kids, like they got all this advice off their parents. I didn't get advice. My parents were always working. I was just copping hate from everyone. My own family turned against me, everyone. I just broke down. I was the black sheep, so why not? I feel like black sheeps are the family, the most successful ones. I was probably battling a lot of demons, but I was also probably not ready to show who I was. I get a lot of messages, like daily, where people are like, you've saved my life. And I think that's where it hits you. Your purpose and your power comes from pain. There'd be days, man, where I was crying just for no reason. And I've got content. I turn my camera on. For me, it's a reminder. I'm unbreakable. And I know I'm breakable, but it's in my head. It's like, I'm unbreakable. Like, if I can go through that, I can get through anything life throws at.
Did you always struggle with anxiety?
I'm unbreakable was my biggest, I think.
Yeah.
I think it was my biggest, probably depressed from the age of about 14 onwards. I wouldn't say I had a lot of anxiety attacks when I was younger. It was more when I was older. When it came to relationships, I was a very anxious person, thinking everyone's going to leave me. I want to help people that want to be helped, like, because you're going to bash your head against the wall if they don't want to be helped. When you act out of anger, you act out of hurt. Inner child in control. But when you act out of love, you're in control.
It's interesting that when I looked in the back end of our YouTube channel and it says 95% of you that watch it frequently haven't yet hit the subscribe button. So I have a small favor to ask. If you've ever watched this channel and enjoyed the content, please, can I ask you a small favor? Please hit the subscribe button. It honestly helps this channel more than I can explain. And I promise you, if you do that, I will return the favor. We will make this show better and better. That's a promise that I'm willing to make if you press the subscribe button. Do we have a deal? Jamie Eden, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thanks for having me.
I think where I want to start this podcast and the direction that we're going to go with today, the best place to start is, man, I generally just want to know, how are you today? It's a question and a response that has become automated these days. It's, how's it going? Yeah, good, mate. Living the dream.
Living the dream.
They're not living the dream.
Usually when someone is, it's when you know
Yeah. And
you don't have a chat with them.
that's it. And I think a lot of people just say it for the sake of saying it. As I said, it's become automated. No one generally cares how someone's going a lot of the time.
No, everyone's all caught up in their own little world.
So, dude, I want to ask you, how
I'm
are you
actually doing
today?
really well. I'm actually doing really well. So and I think it all hinges for me. It's on how my morning plays out. So I've had a really good morning this morning with my kids. I've been to work and now I'm here. But no, I'm actually doing really well. So, it's a nice change for me for a long time now. I was not doing well. But now I'm in a great place I'm in a happy place, and I have been now for about 4 or 5 months. So yeah, it's the first time ever it's been going for this long.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And the reason you're sitting in front of me today is I came across you maybe a year or so ago. These videos on social media of these quotes.
Deep, dark and depressing.
Yeah. No face, no voice.
Yeah.
Just I think some of them had music and the back of you.
Yeah.
I'm like, who is this person? Why is he posting this? And I continued following. I think I sent you a message at the beginning of the year.
When you sent me the last one,
Yeah.
I was like, you actually are. And I was scared to come on. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I was actually like, I don't think I was ready yet
Yeah, okay.
to show who I was.
Because this is your second podcast?
This is my second, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I came across your videos. Who is this guy? No face, no voice. Messaged you, got rejected. Well, didn't even get
Didn't even get a
responded to.
response.
So, I don't know. That's
Yeah,
There you go.
That's weird for me. 'Cause it's like when I looked at that message when you sent me the other one a couple of weeks ago, I was like, why did I not respond to that? And then it kind of clicked to me. It's like, because I was in that part of my life. It was like, I was probably battling a lot of demons, but I was also probably not ready to show who I was. Wasn't ready to probably tell my story type of thing. So
Yeah, well,
now I'm in that place where it's like, I'm happy to talk about it now.
Yeah, because you popped up a couple of weeks ago and it went from just the mental health wolf to Jamie. And I'm like, oh,
rebranded.
there's his name.
He's rebranded.
And then he's showing his face and he's like,
Yeah.
you're showing a bit more of yourself. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to reach out to him again and see if he's interested this time.
Yeah.
Here we are today. And
Yeah.
man, I'm super grateful for you taking time out of your day.
Appreciate it, man. I love doing this.
I'm sure it's maybe not the most comfortable position for you to come on and speak about your journey and yourself, especially with your background. So I appreciate that.
No, happy to do it, man. Happy to do it. Like I said, I'm in a really good place at the moment, and I think I'm in that stage of my life where I'm ready to use this side of me. Where for a long time it was my back, or it was quotes on a screen, like I wasn't even in the video. So it was probably more of a fear of what people would think. I think being a fear of being judged was a lot of it. When I probably look back at when people couldn't see who I was, they couldn't judge who I was. So I could still go viral and do all that and walk down the street and no one would know.
You felt like you were safe.
I was. No one would know who I was. Where now, like, people recognize me and I take photos with people and people want to have a chat, and it's like the first few times it was very, very daunting and very, like, I felt like a bit of an imposter.
Yeah.
Where now I'm starting to probably grow a bit to it and get used to it. So it's actually pretty cool. I actually really enjoy when people come up and have a chat to me. I actually had it this morning. So in one of the cafes I own, one of the center managers came up and he's just like, "How you going?" It's like, yeah, good. How are you? And he's like, "Mate, I just love your social media." And I was like, "Oh, like someone you wouldn't expect it from."
Catches you off guard.
Catches me off guard. Like, I pay my rent to this bloke. And he's telling me how much he loves my social media. So yeah, like that stuff, I'm actually really enjoying it, and I'm really enjoying getting myself out there and meeting new people and doing all that. It's like the fun side of the social media stuff, I guess. So
Knowing that you have any impact as well on someone's life.
That's the big thing. I get a lot of messages like daily where people are like, "You've saved my life." And I think that's where it hits you. That's where it hits home, where it's like someone will send you a message saying that video you just posted was like, you took me off the ledge. I'm not going to jump off that cliff. Well, not jump off, hypothetically jump off that cliff. Like, that video saved my life. And it's like, that's why we do it. Like, it's like I said to you before, like, I make no money out of social media. A lot of people think I do. Like, I get a lot of hate comments on my videos where it's like, "You're just doing this for money," where it's like, I make $0 out of social media, mate. Like, so when you get those messages, like, that's when it hits you. And it's like, okay, you know what? This is probably my path in life. Like, this is probably what I was put on this earth to do, was to help people. And the way this world is, social media is a form of it. So yeah.
My favorite quote at the moment is, "Our passions are usually found within our pain points."
Yeah, so I say something very similar where it's like, I turn my pain into power. So I just shortened it down a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I completely agree. Your purpose and your power comes from pain.
And off the back of that pain point within your life, what does the listener need to know about you, the earliest context about you, to better understand the man that sits in front of us today?
So there's probably a few instances where that pain became power. Like, it starts in childhood, where I didn't have parents that were bad. Like, they weren't alcoholics, they weren't drug addicts. They just were parents that worked 24/7 because they couldn't afford to live. So they had to work.
Just hustling.
They were hustling, yeah. Where it kind of had to raise yourself. So I think just as the child I was, where some people thrive in that, where I was probably a kid that was probably a little bit emotional and probably needed that support from their family and never got it, and ended up hanging out with the wrong crowd and getting yourself mixed with the wrong people, as you would. Like, anyone can do it. It's so easy to happen. So I think for me, it was just a lot of it started at that young age and having to raise yourself and just kind of learn to survive in chaos, and chaos became your peace. And then it goes into your teenage years and you hang out with the wrong people and some traumatic things happen and you get mixed up with the wrong people. You're fighting a lot with a lot of people. You get mixed with the wrong crowds, drugs and alcohol involved type of thing. And that can affect you. And then you get into your adult years and like you have relationships and they break down, and that becomes trauma. Depends on how that relationship went. Like, so I think for me, it was just a whole mixture of things. And then by the time I was in my 30s, I think it just all became too much and kind of had like a little bit of a breakdown. And I think that was my turning point. The breakdown was my blessing, I guess. So, and then after that, yeah, the marriage ended and then the healing journey started, and it's happened really quick. So it's probably been about 2 years for me now, this healing journey. But it was probably I think, and for anyone that has healed, like, I think they'll relate to it, how hard it is to do. It's one of the hardest things, but it's the most rewarding journey they'll ever do, I think. There'll be days, man, where I was crying just for no reason. And I've got content where I'm crying. I turn my camera on because it's like, for me, it's a reminder. Yeah. I won't post it, but
you have it there.
I have it there because it's a reminder. And there's a thing I like to say to people, and I get a lot of messages from people that they're going through something similar and all that. And I tell people, like, go laugh in the places that you cried. Like, change the narrative on it. Because I've got a video where I'm crying, and it was at work and I was in my car. And the other day I actually posted a video and I looked at the background. It was the exact same spot, but it was a video about my happiness.
Yeah, wow.
So it's like I got a video that shows me in tears. I think it was a week after my marriage ended. Just all became so much and there was so much going on. I was just copping hate from everyone. My own family turned against me, everyone. I just broke down. And then this video I posted probably about 2-3 weeks ago, was in that exact same car spot. Saw the background, it had the TAB in the background.
Yep.
And I saw the horse, and I was like, wow, I was in this exact same car spot, literally 2 years, nearly 2 years to the day, and I'm smiling. So for me, that was like that go laugh in the places you cried moment for me, where I tell people that, go laugh in the places you cried, and that was my moment. So it's kind of a really good experience for me, that one.
It's interesting how people get so caught up in their negative emotions.
I did. I was one of those people, man. I was a very negative person. Like I used, and like you've seen that content where it's deep, dark and depressing. I became that content. You know what I mean? So it's like I was attached to it. Like, so there was a period there where I was posting what I was feeling because it was my virtual journal at the time when I first started. And that's why there was no face. It was just me getting it out. And I think I got attached to it, and I was kind of, and that's where the mental health wolf came from. It was like, that was me. So I was kind of like pigeonholed into mental health.
What'd you get attached to? The
negative,
the likes.
That was all part of it.
Yeah.
I think it just became like a dopamine hit type of thing. Like, and I think anyone that's on that social media journey, it happens. So it's like, you can say all you want, it's not going to happen. It's going to happen.
You're in a dark spot.
You're in a dark spot, and you got no happiness in your life.
You're trying to grab onto.
You're grabbing onto everything. Anything you can grab, you're grabbing. And the likes were coming in. Like, I was getting hundreds of thousands of likes on videos. I'm getting millions of views. I'm getting millions of comments. And it's like, people love me. Like, and you get used to that. And then like, you don't go viral. So then you go down. So I've kind of sometimes say like the internet is an evil place. It can be an evil place.
It's just a tool. It's how you use it. But yeah, it is a trap for a lot of people. And especially you, like
I got caught in it.
Yeah.
And I literally, because I might admit now, I still go to therapy. I don't go once a week anymore, but I go once every 2-3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And that was part of my therapy, was I spoke to my therapist about this. Like I never used to be like this type of person, but why am I all of a sudden getting addicted to this? Like I started it for this. I started it to help people, because when I was going through shit, I was alone and I had no one. So I started it to show people they're not alone when they're going through it, and they've got people they can turn to. But then I kind of got caught up in the analytics of it all. So my whole thing was, why am I doing this? Like, so I had to keep reminding myself, this is why I'm doing it. Where now, like, I'm not attached to the content. I can post something and then just turn the app off and walk away from it. And it's probably not a good thing either to do that, because I'm not responding to as many comments anymore and doing all that, but it's just, there's so many. So I try to respond to comments now, even though it doesn't happen as much. But there'll be some days where I'm not doing too good. I'll post a video and I'll leave it. I won't go back into the app for the day. So that probably hurts my page a little bit in terms of building the following and doing all that social media side of things. But
you can't be on your phone all day.
You can't be on your phone all day. But no, it was, I got attached to that darkness side of it. And I think that's where it got really dark and depressing, my page, where like I knew I had to change it. Like you have that gut feeling where it's like, I think I might be doing more harm than good.
Yeah, because it would have hindered the healing journey itself, because
it was helping a lot of people, because a lot of people, because I tested it for a little bit.
Yeah.
I was like posting some of this happiness before I announced to the world I was happy.
Yeah.
Which I did a post on it probably about 2-3 months ago, and I announced that, you know what, and it was more of a keeping myself accountable thing, where if I announce this to the world, I got to just commit to this. And it was more so, even lost my train of thought just then, but I announced it to the world and I was like, okay, I'm committing to this. I'm going to commit to this happiness journey now. Like, I've gone through this deep, dark and depression. Like, I've seen the light. Like, I'm a different person now. So it's like, I need to now commit to giving people that. And I've noticed it with the videos, like, they don't go as viral. So people don't relate to the happiness side of things.
It's crazy, eh?
It's weird. So you do miss that little bit of a dopamine rush sometimes, but it's like, you just got to stay the course on it. And I'm committed to it. I'm committed to showing people that other side of the healing journey, which is good. It's a good place to be. It's still hard, but you don't react. You react a lot differently to a lot of things.
Yeah, like, it's the reality of life. It's up and down.
It is.
For you, like being caught up, seeing all the likes and the followers and stuff from
down
content.
But I was going up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're like, negative content is getting good views and followership.
Yeah.
So you want to continue being negative, so you get that. And it's like, it stuffs you up.
And that's where it stuffed me up there. And I learned to detach. That's when I learned to detach from it and Like, and I used to say, my mates would see some of my posts and they're like, hey, you okay? And I'm sitting there laughing and joking with them. And I'm like, I'm just not attached to the content. Like, I got myself into that headspace where I was all about the likes, the views, the comments and all that, where thankfully I'm not like that anymore. And which is why now I've decided to start talking and jumping on podcasts and doing this side of it. And it's crazy because ever since I did that first one a few weeks ago, everyone's like, oh, you're Australian. Like, everyone thought I was American. So many people thought I was American, yeah, because I'd never spoken a video. Or you saw my face, or you saw my back, or you saw me standing there and it was words on a screen. And then now they've heard me talk and they're like, oh, you're actually Australian.
This guy's a bogan.
This is a bogan, Lebanese bogan. But yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying this side of it, and I'm enjoying getting out there and meeting people and stuff. I actually really enjoy that. So I just did an event not long ago for the FIFA soccer game that just came out, and I met the celebrities there, and like, they've seen my stuff, and it's like, that was surreal for me when celebrities are like, oh, I've seen who you are. Like, we didn't think you were Australian as well. Like, I was like, oh yeah. So now I've put in, like, I've rebranded myself to my name.
Yep.
It's still got the Mental Health Wolf as the username, but I've rebranded to my name. So it's kind of was my last step where it's like, you know what, I'm not ashamed of where I've come from now. Like, this is who I am.
And speaking about where you come from, you mentioned, growing up, your parents weren't there, and I'm sure there was a feeling of neglect and abandonment.
Yeah.
What was your relationship like with specifically your father?
That's a hard one. So I have a good relationship with my dad now, but back when I was a kid, it was, and I remember having a therapy session on this. I remember breaking down in tears because I was like, I got no issues with my dad. Like, my dad's like one of the best human beings ever. Like, he works hard, he provided for his family. Like, if I could be half the man he would, I'd be happy. And then I remember breaking down crying, and it clicked to me. It's like, so I played rugby league as a kid, grew up playing it, played my whole, up until I was about 31, 32. And I remember he was my footy coach when I was a kid. So the one time I saw my dad was at footy training and on game day.
Yeah.
And that was the relationship I had with my dad, and it hit me. And I was like, my dad was a dad to 13 other kids too, though. So it was like, he wasn't my dad. I saw him as my footy coach. So that's when it hit me. I was like, my dad wasn't there when I was a kid. I was alone. So I kind of, I don't know, it's weird for me. It's like, you see a lot of kids talk, like a lot of people talk about when they were kids, like they got all this advice off their parents. I didn't get advice. Like, it was, my parents were always working. Like, and the advice I would get was like, and there was one quote my dad used to always say, he's like, I raised you to sit at the front of the bus, not the back of the bus. And that was to be a leader. So that's like the one bit of advice I got from my dad, and that was it. The rest I've taught myself along the way. So like, I look at it back and it's like, I didn't have a bad childhood or anything like that. It's just, I raised myself. And I think that's probably, that's where the chaos came from, where you're an 8-year-old kid parenting yourself. And there's nothing bad against my parents or anything like that. It's just my parents were kids that had kids. Mm-hmm. So they were 18 when they got married. They had their first kid at 18. They had me at 21. So they were still kids. And back then in the 80s and 90s and all that, it's a lot different to what it is now. Like, there was no help for parents back then. It was you'll figure it out type of stuff. Which is, I think that's kind of how we parent now as well. You learn your own methods. But it shows you what you do with your kids compared to what our parents did with us.
Definitely. And I think the biggest lesson, even if you didn't have a good childhood, it's like you're taught how not to parent, like how you're going to be different when you're a parent. And for me, my dad was always in the picture, but I've never had a close relationship with him.
Which I think that's what it is with my dad as well. Like, he was there, but he wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't present. He was working 24/7. There was no connection. And even to this day, I feel like there's a better connection than what there was. But I see my parents for who they are now. I don't see them as parents anymore. I see them as people.
Was there a point in your life where you had a lot of resent or anger for your father? Because for me, not probably until the last couple of years, I had a lot of anger and resent. It wasn't until I became a father myself and I realized, they're just doing the best with the tools that they have.
That's when the resentment leaves.
Yeah. And for me, realizing like, shit.
They were right.
I have so much empathy and gratitude for you because you put a roof over our head, you put food on the table.
You made ends meet.
We may not have had the best connection, and some of your actions I may not still agree with, but coming back to the main core thing of they were doing the best with what they had, and my dad didn't have the best upbringing as well, so he didn't have the best tools.
Yeah.
I
found that's where I struggled with my dad, is like when I went to him about my mental health, like it was, I didn't know what he went through as a kid. Like my dad ran away from home when he was 9. He burned all the photos of himself in his house because
Really?
he just had a really traumatic childhood. Like he went to hospital. His parents forgot to pick him up, like when he broke his hip or something like that. Like, so I know my dad had it really rough, but my dad didn't do any healing or anything like that because she didn't do it back then.
No, you just toughen
You
up.
toughen up, and that's how I was raised. So it was very hard to talk about it at the start with my dad, and then when I did, that was you toughen up type of thing, and he's really good with it now. We talk about it now. The social media side of things, I get a bit weird with my parents.
Yeah.
Like I do some things where it's like I'm really proud of like some events I've been to, and like I've been invited to events and I'm mingling with these people and that, and I get very proud, and they don't see it that way, and it's like and it's more so the proud of like, this is what I've done. I've achieved this. Like I'm just an average person, and like this is the following I have, and these are the people I'm impacting, and these are the people I'm mingling with. Like for me, it's quite a big thing.
Yeah.
It's quite a big, and I look like an average person. Like you look at all these social media influencers, mate, they're models, they're chiseled. I'm just
Mate, you got a good rig on it.
got a solid rig on me. But like you look at these social media, like I'm bold. You know what I mean? Like, and I've only just started showing that, like when I was at events. So it's like I was rebranding myself fully, but I send that stuff to my family. And it's like, oh, cool. And it's like, and I get a bit disappointed because it's like something I'm proud of. Like this is a big thing for me. But like, so I still hold a little bit of resentment sometimes towards my family when it's like I'm doing all these things and I'm proud of what I'm doing and I'm helping people, but they don't see it. Like they see it that I'm helping people, but they don't necessarily understand the impact of it, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's understanding different areas. They're not used to technology. Like,
No.
for example, this podcast, like, I'm proud of how far I've got this studio, the guests
It's
that I'm
amazing,
getting on.
It's like when I walked in, I was blown away, yeah.
And especially my dad, I don't think he's ever told me once that he's proud of this.
Heard it once.
Yeah.
Heard it once off my dad, and it was when I opened my first cafe that he was proud of me. And it's even like, even when my marriage ended, like my family turned against me because they didn't see this thing. It's like how they say, like, you don't see what happens in closed doors. So they didn't see the relationship. Like there was nothing bad between me and her and all that, but they didn't see the relationship. And they turned against me because it was a marriage breaking down. You know, it is like, it's that WOG family. You stay together no matter what.
Yeah.
So they turned against me. And then it wasn't until like probably 12 months down the track, they didn't. So I held some resentment there. It's like, you guys left me in my darkest hour. Like I was living in hotels for 3 months. I was spending $2,000 a week to live in a hotel because I needed a roof over my head when my marriage broke down. And they turned their back. Everyone turned their back on me. I was alone. I was I just opened a cafe. I just opened my second cafe. When like 2 weeks after my marriage broke down, I was opening another cafe. So I was working 24/7, had 2 businesses to run, going through a marriage breakdown. Like it was the toughest period of my life. And I look back on that period now and it's like, you know what? Nothing can break me because I went through that alone and everyone turned against me, but I kept going. And now I look at it as I can get through anything in life now because I put myself back on my own 2 feet.
Yeah.
And like put myself in an apartment and brought all the furniture, brought everything like from scratch, I even new clothes. I left everything there. Like it was just that clean cut of a break. And it was just, I had to start again. And so now it's like, I'm unbreakable. And I know I'm breakable, but it's in my head. It's like, I'm unbreakable. Like if I can go through that, I can get through anything life throws at me.
That's it. That's where resilience is built, by doing hard shit.
Hard shit, yeah. And I feel like my whole life, like I've got through everything, but nothing was like that. And I think it's just, I was a resilient person to start off with, but I think that tested it.
Yeah.
And I think that was my turning point where it actually, people have told me my whole life, you're resilient, you're this, you're that. And it's like, yeah, whatever. But for me to like go through that, and then but I was going through that healing journey at the same time. So I was going to therapy and I became really self-aware. So I was watching it unfold for myself. And I think that awareness I had for myself and then sitting back and reflecting on it was like, yeah, wow, I went through all this. And it was like for me, it was one of my most proudest moments in my life was putting myself back on my own 2 feet.
It would have to be.
Yeah, right up there with my kids being born. Like, it matches it with the kids being born. Like, I remember when I first moved into the apartment I was in, I'm not there anymore, but when I first found that first apartment and I moved in, I didn't even have a bed yet. Like, the bed hadn't arrived, so I was sleeping on the lounge. And I remember sitting on that lounge, I was just looking around, like, and I smiled and I said to myself, like, you did it. Like, you got yourself back on your own 2 feet, and you did it within 3 or 4 months. And I was very grateful I got the businesses, so it gave me that little bit of extra income to do it. Like, so it'd be a lot harder for someone just working a job, but like I was still paying for all her stuff at the same time of doing all this.
Yeah.
So there was a bit of stress, but like I remember that moment sitting on the lounge that first night. I'm just sitting there and I'm just like, you did it. And like I shed a tear, and it was just like, wow. Like, and I think that was my turning point with everything, where it's like, I made the right decision. I'm doing everything I'm on the right path in life.
Yeah. You're proud of yourself.
I was proud of myself, which I never was. And I still struggle to this day of being like, I still struggle with achievements. Like for me, it's like when I achieve something, a lot of people get really proud and it's like, I did this. And that was my moment. But even to this day, when I do something really, that's a big achievement, like I just get on with it now. It's like, because I struggle. So I still struggle with that.
Was that from your childhood? Because really you weren't celebrated anyway?
I wasn't celebrated.
Yeah.
And so I struggle to celebrate myself. And I'm probably better now, but I was really bad at it. But I still struggle with it to this day, where it's sometimes it's like, oh, just get on with it. Just go find the next thing now to do. So I've got to sometimes sit down and reflect and have that little blessing moment where I probably don't do it enough. For me, it's just always on the go. You've got to do this. All right, you've done this now, and let's go do this. Like, you've achieved this goal, let's move on to the next goal. And it's like, and that whole social media thing was part of it. It's like you'd set yourself little goals and you achieve it and you move the goalpost, you go again, type of thing. And you don't kind of reflect on it. So I think for me, being more self-aware now, I'm starting to learn to reflect on it, but I probably need to do it a bit better. So it's still a journey.
That's it.
You never, like, and I say to everyone when they say like, are you fully healed? I'm like, you're never fully healed, mate. Like,
there's always going to be more shit.
There's always going to be something. You're going to be fighting bigger demons, mate. You beat one demon, you're going to fight a bigger one. You know what I mean? They get harder and harder the longer the further you go on.
That's it.
You just learn to deal with it better.
Yeah, no, I think that's what makes life exciting, right?
Got to get excitement somewhere in life, I guess.
Well, life would be boring if it was all sunshine and rainbows.
100%.
It'd be good for maybe a day or so. You're like,
yeah,
chaos.
I do. It's like, sometimes it's like when shit happens and it's just give me a break. But then like you get those peaceful moments. And I remember like when it first happened for me, getting those peaceful moments, like I'd look for chaos. I'd go create chaos somewhere. Like I'd go out with my mates drinking and do all that stupid stuff and just try and find chaos because my life was too peaceful. Where now I've learned to enjoy that peace, because now there's always something that's going to pop up. And it's when you own businesses, like there's always stuff.
It's not smooth sailing.
It's not smooth sailing. So and I've kind of been really grateful where I can separate my personal life from the business life. So I see it as like having two different lives. I've got my work life and then my personal life. The social media stuff probably falls into the personal life side of things. But I've been lucky enough where I can separate it. So it's when I go home, I leave the work stuff at work. And that's probably been since I've been a single parent. I've been able to sit down and leave work at work and have the home life and be present with those kids. So
yeah,
doing everything my parents never did, I'm doing with my kids. I'm being present. I did post some content there for a while where I was reenacting a lot of stuff that happened in my childhood. I didn't do too much of it, only because I think it triggered me a little bit.
Yep.
And it kind of brought back a lot of that emotion. But like there was stuff there like where I was posting content of like having a reenactment with my parents and then being shut down. And then I had in there that I was like, that's where my abandonment issues came from. So like I would do stuff like that. So it was like talking to my dad and he'd be like, just go away, I'm busy. And then it's like you'd have that fear of abandonment where you'd get that anxious attachment about you. So I did do a lot of that. I probably will start doing a bit more of that content again now that I've probably healed a lot of those things. But I feel like I'm kind of in a funk at the moment with my content where I'm just kind of a bit mind blocked, and it's because I've gone through that transition of being in a really bad place to being in a really good place. And I'm kind of finding it hard to find the words to express that. So that's where I'm at the moment.
See, I don't think that's a bad thing though.
It's not a bad
I think that's great.
And I see it as like, and I'm at that stage now where it's like, I don't need to post every day.
That's it.
I don't. And I was in that mid period where I was posting like 2 or 3 times a day. Where now it's like, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to really try and get these words right for these content, like the happy side of things now. Because I think people need to see that side of things. Not necessarily people are going to like it because they're not going through that. It's going to show that other side of it.
Yeah, it shows the light at the end of the tunnel.
It shows there's light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that I owe it to everyone that there is, because it's been 2 years now where I've been posting deep, dark stuff. So I think I owe it to people where it's like, I'm not in this space anymore. I'm in a good place in life. So I think I need to show that I'm in a good place in life and let everyone know like there is light at the end of the tunnel. Even if you're not necessarily in that light yet,
Yeah.
there's hope.
You mentioned happiness a fair bit there. What does happiness mean to you?
That's a hard one to answer. For me, it's my kids. They are a big form of happiness for me, and it's seeing them happy. But happiness for me with this whole mental health, I don't wake up in that place anymore. Like I don't wake up in a place of hurt. So it's not a chore to get out of bed. Some days it is because it's cold or it's like I've got to go to work, but you don't wake up and you're not overthinking straight away. You're not waking up anxious. There'd be mornings I'd wake up and I think I just was living in a constant state of an anxiety attack at one period there where I just had I was anxious all the time.
Did you always struggle with anxiety?
Anxiety was my biggest, I think.
Yeah.
I think it was my biggest. I was depressed I was probably depressed from the age of about 14 onwards.
They go hand in hand.
They kind of go hand in hand, but I think I learned to just live with that depression.
Yeah.
Where the anxiety I felt. So it was different. I wouldn't say I had a lot of anxiety attacks when I was younger. It was more when I was older. But the anxiety side of it was probably the worst side of it because you felt it.
Mm-hmm.
And you felt that nauseousness in your stomach. And it was all day. And it's now I relate my anxiety to when I get that feeling in my stomach, I'm like, something bad's going to happen. Even though there's not necessarily, I've got to learn to like detach myself from that. But sometimes like I used to get those anxieties, I was like, hey, something bad's coming.
See, I have a totally different perspective on anxiety. Anxiety used to control my life.
Yeah.
Any new situation, any new place I'd go into, I would be sick to the point of like vomiting, dry fatigue, like really bad.
That affects everyone differently. So I was fine doing that.
Yeah, okay.
It was more so for me, it was like I could just be sitting at home and I could feel it it'll bubble.
Yeah.
And then I'd have an anxiety attack.
Okay.
And then it'd be like a reset. But then it'd come back. So when I had an anxiety attack, I always knew for the next few weeks it'd be quite strong.
Were you like stressed or fearful about something that was going on?
Could have been.
Yeah, subconsciously.
Back then, man, I was surviving life back then. So it's kind of, everything was a blur. But like I was fine going to new places, but I put myself in the background.
Yeah, okay.
So like I think that was part of anxiety for me. It was if I put myself in the background, I'm not seen.
Yeah.
So if I was out with a group of mates, I wouldn't be front and center making jokes and laughing. I'd just be blending into the crowd.
Are you like naturally introverted or extrovert?
I feel like I am. I feel like I swing both ways.
Yeah.
In that sense.
I'll clip this out.
I feel like I'm on a pendulum with the introvert and extrovert.
Yeah.
I think I'm an introvert that has the signs of extrovert, where it also depends on what situation I'm in and who I'm around. If I'm meeting people for the first time, I'm a naturally quiet person.
Yeah.
But if I'm around people that I'm close with,
different animal. Yeah.
I'm a beast. Yeah. It's like I'm a different animal. Yeah. I'll be the most extroverted person. But yeah, new people, I'm very quiet, very relaxed.
Until you build that trust. And
that trust, which I think for us this morning, we had a good 20-minute chat before we started this and I felt comfortable. So then it's like, okay, well now I can open up.
You can flow into the conversation.
Yeah. I think that was really good where if we just walked in, he started straight away, it'd be flowing a lot differently to what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
So it all depends on the situation for me where I feel like I probably had anxiety a lot last week. And I don't know what it was. I think it just might have been work stresses and stuff like that.
Do you sit and reflect on when it arises in your life?
I do, but depends on where I'm at too.
Yeah, okay.
If I'm at work, I got no time to sit and reflect. I just let it sit. But then when I go home, I kind of sit back and go, okay, what happened? And then I look back and it's like, okay, well, I know the rent's due at the shop in a couple of days. So it's like that could add to it. Or it's like I've had an interaction with someone and it hasn't gone the best. Or I've had an interaction with my ex-wife and it hasn't gone the best. And then the anxiety, because I overthink it. So that's where the anxiety comes from for me. And for me now, the anxiety is related to overthinking. So I've kind of learned to be more present. And that was a big thing for me in my therapy, was becoming more present. And even now, like I think the main stuff I'm doing and healing my inner child, like that I don't care what anyone says. If you heal your inner child, you're going to heal a lot of things.
That's who we are, right?
It is. We're our kids.
Yeah.
And you look at it now, and I actually read a quote the other day and it was like, the person you are around people is who your inner child would have felt safe around. So the way we're talking right now is our inner child would feel safe right now in this room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I try to have my interactions like that now. It's like I'm interacting for him. And my therapist taught me, my therapist was really good. She was quite spiritual, but she was also like that therapist as well. So I went into that and I could envision my inner child. So for me, it was quite a journey.
It's like a holistic approach.
It was a holistic approach, yeah. So I was able to sit there in her studio, which was kind of like this, but on lounges. And I used to sit there and I'd close my eyes and I could picture my inner child, and it was always the 8-year-old me. So she knew chaos started for me at 8 years old. That's where my first trauma hit. So, and the way she broke it down for me was great. It was like, you got to remember, so say like you're 8 years old, something traumatic happens to you, you move on with life.
Yeah.
But he's stuck there. He hasn't let it go. And that's where that comes from. So when she goes, when you act out of anger or you act out of hurt, she goes, that's your inner child. Your inner child's in control. So she's like, you shouldn't be acting out of anger. You shouldn't be acting out of hurt. You got to act from out of love. So when you act out of anger, you act out of hurt. That's your inner child in control. But when you act out of love, you're in control. So you kind of learn to bring it back. So you try to become that aware. I became aware where it was, okay, well, I'm acting like this. So my inner child's in control. So I need to sit down for a bit, kind of like talk to my inner child and go, okay, look, I understand. You're in pain. I'll take over from here. So it's a lot of that. And then eventually, like, I lost that anxiousness attachment style. When it came to relationships, I was a very anxious person, thinking everyone's going to leave me. I think that comes from my childhood because my parents left me and went to work. You know what I mean? Yeah. The neglect. Where now I'm not like that when it comes to I'm very avoidant now, I've noticed, when it comes to relationships. I won't date anyone. I won't do any of that. And
so you've gone from one side of the spectrum to the other side.
Yeah, like full on one side of the spectrum to the other. Where I'm very avoidant of a relationship now. And I think I will be for a while. And I think it's just got to do with just the previous hurt and stuff like that. And it's hard. I think it's harder when you become a single parent, because you're not only dating for yourself, you're dating for your kids as well. Yeah. And I would never bring another woman around my kids until I knew it was the person I was going to spend the rest of my life with. But that's how I look at it now. It's like I'm not just dating for them. I'm not just dating for me. I'm dating for them.
So I think it's a great opportunity for you to work on you.
Yeah, I've said, and people keep saying to me, you shouldn't put a timeline on it. But it's like, I'm single till I'm 40. I'm 35 now. So it's like, I think I'm going to...
5 years of growth, why not?
5 years of growth, man. Like, why not? Like, I can do a lot in 5. And you don't realize, like, 5 years doesn't sound like a lot, but you can do a lot in 5 years. Mm-hmm. I look back 2 years ago, man, I was unemployed. And in 2 years' time, I'm a successful business owner. I've got a successful social media profile. Like, I've completely done a 360 on my life.
Yeah.
So 5 years is a long time when you look at it. So I know I can build a few more businesses in 5 years' time. Or I can work on me in 5 years' time. I'm going to be a different person. Like me in 3 months' time, I'm going to be another different person than what I am now, especially since getting back into therapy. And I think that 6-month break I had from therapy showed me what I need to work. I kind of it was good. Being that aware is good, because you could take a mental note and it's like, okay, well, this is where I know I'm lacking here. I know I'm struggling with this here when it comes to relationships, or I meet someone and I push them away, or I just don't even want to borrow them. So I think that was a good thing for me. And it's kind of, we're working on at the moment where I'm kind of working on stuff with my mum, like stuff on what I went through my childhood with my mum, with my therapist. So it's like, I'm trying to heal that side of it now, which is probably going to heal that avoidance side of things. So I think it's just the relationship I had with my parents, where it was like, I know my mum went through a lot of stuff as well. And she did a lot of healing, but she probably did it later in life where it passed down.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's some stuff there I need to work on.
What's your relationship like now?
Now it's good. We still clash. My mum works for me in my business a couple of days a week.
Yeah. Okay.
So there'll be instances where we'll clash, and that's the stuff I've taken note of and the reaction to it and where I'm feeling. So it's like, and I see traits in me with that, where it's like, we'll have that argument and she'll shut the conversation down and walk off.
Yeah.
It's like, kind of, now I know where I get that from.
Yep.
I know where I get that from. So it's like, that's the stuff I've taken note of. And it's like, okay, well, this is what's happening with my mum. And I'm noticing I'm doing it. So I'm kind of using this as an opportunity now, where it's like, everything I had in the past, it's like a clean slate for me now. So it's the next, if I ever have another relationship, I'm not bringing any of that baggage with me. It's like a fresh start for me. It's going to be like my first relationship ever, I think.
You'll find your one, eh?
No, that's the plan. But I'm not, how do I say it? I don't really want to.
Yeah.
But I know it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Like, it's regardless of how it is, unless I lock myself in my house and go anywhere for the rest of my life.
Life happens the way it's meant to happen, man.
I'm a big believer of that. I've been on this journey. I kind of went a bit spiritual.
Yep.
And I'm a massive believer of everything happens for a reason and everything passes, everything's temporary and the universe works for you. And like that was quite enlightening for me. And I think I went to the extent the only thing I don't do is the tarot readings and the crystals.
Are you religious or?
I was born Catholic.
Yeah,
Religious.
okay.
I do believe in God. I believe in all that. But I'm also on that spiritual side.
Yeah.
So I think, like I know that I truly believe there is a God. But I'm also on that spiritual side as well, where I have good chats with my brother about it. My brother's quite spiritual. And like he even, like we go to the extent where he's like, you're your own God type of thing. Like,
Yeah.
yes, God's there, but God's like, you're the creator of your own universe type of thing. So there's multiple ways you can look at that, where it's like, yes, there's a God, or you know what, God is what you make of it.
It's all about perspective.
Perspective, yeah.
Like,
So
coming back to that anxiety piece, my perspective it was a negative thing. Why am I going through anxiety? Why is this coming up in my life? Until I shifted to, wow, anxiety is actually a good thing and it's a sign of
it's a
something.
warning sign.
Yeah.
That's how I treat it now.
See, I don't see that as a bad thing.
No.
I see it as a sign of something that I need to go towards.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, yeah.
Because,
I saw it as like a warning sign.
yeah,
That, like I said before, I saw it as something bad's going to happen. So that was my warning sign.
yeah. So,
That's why I used to never trust my gut feelings. I was like, it's just my anxiety. But now I've kind of, I still get anxious. It's just not as frequent as it was, but I learned to trust my gut feelings. So now if something doesn't feel right, I don't participate. So if something doesn't feel right for me, I won't go. If I'm out with my mates, and it happened to me not long ago, I was out with my mates and I was like, man, I just don't feel right. I just feel like something weird in the gut. And I left. And apparently within 10 minutes of me leaving, this massive fight broke out in the pub. And like, it was huge and it was on the news and all that. And I was like, and my mate came with me and he's like, he goes, you need to trust that gut more. Like, he was like, straight away, like the NFL was about to start at like midnight. The NFL was starting, like, who do you think's going to win? He's ticking it. And obviously they lost, but it was like, I learned to trust that gut feeling.
yeah.
So that's big for me. And I think that all comes down to that spiritual journey. And I can talk about that for hours, like that side of it. I just love it. Like it's so true. Like everything does, like if you look at it, everyone you meet everyone for a reason in your life. Doesn't even the interaction we're having now. Like we've met for a reason.
Yeah.
And the reason could be to do this podcast, or it could be there's further collaboration down the line. Like you don't know. Like so I'm a big believer of everyone you meet in life, there's a reason for that meeting. Either it's a blessing, it's a lesson, or there's like a purpose in there. So
What are some of the lessons you've received from going down that spiritual route?
letting go of things, definitely letting go of things. I used to like fester on things a lot, and let it control me, where I've learned to kind of feel it and let it go. And definitely feel those, like I learned, like I know my marriage ended, I learned to sit in my feelings and I learned to sit in that pain, where before I used to mask the pain. I'd go out with my mates, go out drinking.
Because there was a lot of shame and guilt around expressing your emotions.
Yeah, and I didn't want to express it. And not even that as well. It was also like, I didn't want to feel the pain. I didn't want to feel.
So you mask it.
I'd numb it. I'd numb the pain. Where when the marriage ended, I was like, okay, well, this is now my chance to do something different. I remember sitting in hotel rooms and I had my journal and I was writing things down and I sat in that pain. It was the most uncomfortable experience at the start. And I was sitting there like doing this and I wanted to just kind of get out and go out drinking just so I could kind of numb the pain again. But once I learned to sit in that pain, I learned to let things go. So for me, that was huge. Like learning to sit in, like I've always been one to never sit in the pain. I'd go find something to do, whether it was work or go out with my mates or do anything like that. Like that was my way of dealing with things. Where now it's like I can sit with it, I can feel it, and I can let it go.
It's your body processing what's happening.
Yeah, and you feel it in your body. And I feel like when you don't sit with that pain and you don't let it go, you don't like acknowledge it and accept it and let it go, I feel like your body reacts. And like I used to suffer I still do a little bit, but I used to get a lot of bad eczema. And I feel like it was causes I was numbing it and the body was reacting to it. And then once I feel like my eczema got better, and I don't know if it's just a coincidence or not, but like my eczema got better when I learned to sit in the pain, acknowledge it, accept it, and then let it go. And I feel like my body wasn't as stressed. So it's like my body was reacting differently.
Yeah.
So,
The body sends you signs of,
yeah.
it may be physical, but it's a sign of something deeper.
It's a sign of something deeper, yeah. So I think that was part of my spiritual journey. And it was like naturally healing myself. So was a bit weird. It's a bit weird, but yeah, it's still weird to think about
Yeah.
sometimes now, where it's like my eczema was, and eczema's quite debilitating.
We hear stories of that all the time where people have illnesses and stuff, and then they do the inner work and it goes away.
Illnesses goes, yeah. And I was like, I didn't think too much. Like, I still get eczema now, but it's not like it used to be. I mean, I was covered like from here down, and I used to have to use like sensitive washing powder.
And that would have brought a lot of insecurities as well.
Brings a lot of insecurities, and I still get eczema now, but it's nothing like it used to be. It's just sometimes it'll come. I sometimes feel when I get eczema, it's like, okay, what do I need to work on? What's stressing me out right now? So I use it as like a warning sign. So I think that's a good place to look at.
Have you thought about wanting to start a podcast, but you just didn't know where to start? The thought of buying all the equipment, setting it up, recording, and then having to edit it all became all too overwhelming and probably deterred you from even wanting to start. Well, what if I told you there was a one-stop shop for all your podcasting needs? All you had to do is come in, record, and everything was taken care of for you. Well, let me introduce you to the Better Media Podcast Studio. High quality audio, video, and lighting to allow you to get the most bang for your buck. That all sounds amazing, right? You could get your podcast up and running like tomorrow. So why don't you? So what are you waiting for? Let's take action on this thought. Let's make it a reality. Contact us today. I'm now offering a complimentary 30-minute session so you can come in and experience it for yourself. See you soon. Your social media following and your community, I think it's amazing community. Do you feel like there's a fine line between actually helping people and creating a cluster of poor me people where it's the victimhood of they find this community of everyone that feels the same, but they never get out of it. They never help themselves.
I see it with following. I see it. Like there's definitely two sides of it where there is that community and people are very like-minded, or they're like, I relate so much to that. Thank you, you've helped me. And then there's the people that put like, I'll never end this and I'm always going to be like this. It's that real broken person. And I kind of get a little bit frustrated with that when it's like people message you and you respond to, and it's like, well, you just got to do this, this, and this, or you like, have you looked at doing this, this, and this, or it's like, have you looked at therapy at least? And like, I can never do that. Like, there was always an excuse for people, and it really used to frustrate me. But now it's like, okay, well, it's just how people are. So I can offer them that type of advice and say to them, like, and my number one thing I tell people is like, get some therapy. Like, there's so many options available out there now. Like, you can get it for free for at least 10 weeks now. And that's in every country in the world. So it's not just Australia that does that. So my biggest thing is like, I tell people therapy, like it's the number one thing. And it was for me, like, and that's why I'm a big advocate for therapy. And I use that a lot in my content and stuff my therapist tells me, because it works. And a lot of people, I get a lot of hate with those comments as well, because it's like, oh, therapy's just there to make money. It's like, well, yeah, they're making money because they're a therapist.
But they're helping you.
They're helping you. It's exactly what I'm doing. I'm just not a therapist. I'm like, what's the difference between what I'm doing and what they're doing? The only difference is they went to university. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're smarter than me. But that's how I look at it. It's like therapy. And I say to people, like, even if you don't need therapy, you probably need therapy. I think I'm a massive advocate for it, and I really enjoyed it. It's hard. And yes, they do make money out of it, but it's an investment on yourself. And everyone says that, like self-help, like go do a course, go do this, like therapy's part of that.
People are happy to go to the pub and put money in the slaps, and but they won't put money into their own mental health.
Yeah, and they'll probably throw $500-$600 onto the pokies, where that's 5 weeks of therapy right there. You know what I mean? You just paid for 5 weeks. But yeah, I'm a massive, and I love all those self-help books, and I read all those as well. But yeah, I'm a big believer of doing that work on yourself. And I try to lead people down that path. There's only so much you can do. And that's when I said before, like I've learned to detach from that a little bit, because you can't help everyone.
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to.
That's it. So that's where I'm at now. It's like, if people come to me with that victim stuff, it's like, I'll tell them what I need to tell them, but it won't go further than that, where I'm starting to really focus on the ones that are relating to the content and doing the work as well. Because I think that's the path I want to go down, is I want to help the people that want to be helped. Like, because you're going to bash your head against the wall if they don't want to be helped.
And in a way, it's sad to see, like I was going through your comment sections, how many people can relate to what you're
that's
saying.
Scary, isn't it?
Like there was one here, I think there was a man that posted this, he goes, I'm one of those men suffering in silence when it comes to mental health and anxiety. I have good and bad days, but lately the loneliness has gotten to me. No help or support from family.
Yeah.
So many people can relate to that.
So many, and I think I said it before, my marriage ended. I was that person. I was, whatever he said, like exactly what he said there, I felt all that when my marriage ended. It's the same thing. And there's so many people that can relate to that. And they're the people that I try to reach out to. And they're the people that I'll build those relationships with because they need it. And that was the whole reason for my page starting, was you're not alone. As much as you feel like you're alone in that moment, and I was alone in that moment, I wasn't alone. There's other people that are going through it. And that's the community I'm trying to build where, yes, you are alone presently you're alone in that moment, but there's people around you that are there for support, whether it's they're in Australia, they're in America, they're in another country. People will support you. And I found that with social media. That's the blessing with social media. Mate, some of my biggest haters are my friends. Yeah. Some of the kindest people to me are people I've never met in my life. You know what I mean? And I've built some great friendships from social media in the last couple of years, like people that I would call my closest friends, where people knew before the social media, they're nowhere to be seen now. Like, they're not in my life. So I'm a big believer of you can form some really good relationships on social media, and your biggest haters are your closest people. Massively.
And loneliness, I believe, is just a state of mind.
Loneliness is a state of mind. I've learned that very recently. I've learned that, where it's like, I remember sitting at home one night and I'm just lonely. And it was one of the nights I didn't have the kids. I think it was like a Monday night or something. So it was like, you've just had a good weekend, you've worked all weekend, had the kids, and I'm sitting at home Monday night and I'm like, I'm alone. And it is, because then, you know what, I went and I'm very grateful where I live. I went and sat in my sauna and had a spa and had a swim, and I didn't feel lonely anymore. You know what I mean? So it's a state of mind. It was just in that moment I felt alone. I just had to occupy myself. So I'm actually thinking of getting myself a hobby now. So I actually might learn to play guitar or something like that, and just to occupy that mind when it gets that loneliness.
And that's building a relationship with yourself too.
Yeah. And I learned to love myself for the first time ever. I never loved myself as a person.
And how's that feel now to sit here right now and say, I love myself, I love who I am?
It's because I still feel a little bit of shame, because you always, anyone that says they love themselves, it's it's just your ego. Where it's I actually love the person I am. I love who I am with people. I love how I interact with people. I mean, I know I'm a very genuine person when it comes to the people I meet. But it's still a weird place to sit where it's I actually do love myself. But it feels good within to say it. And it's I look in the mirror now and I don't. I recognize who I am as a person. I look different. My eyes have gone lighter. That's how I knew something was working, because I had really dark brown eyes, and then now
they're light, yeah.
They're light brown. So and I look at all these photos of when I was a kid. I got a photo on my phone of it's the 8-year-old me. So whenever I'm struggling, I've got that photo, the 8-year-old me, and I look at that, and it's because that's where everything started for me. I was 8 years old. And I saw how happy he was. There was he's smiling, and it's I need to bring him back. So that's kind of my motivation now with that.
What was the age that you really started to feel the effects of your upbringing?
15.
15?
15 is where I think I started to understand, and I became an angry person. And
yeah, okay. And doing the inner child work, there's a part of it, and you may have done it already, is where you go back to that 15-year-old self. You may write a letter or whatever.
Yeah, I've done that.
If I was to give you a piece of paper right now, what would be on that letter to that 15-year-old version of Jamie?
I would probably explain a lot of what's happened since he's turned 15 and go into my adulthood. I do that now, and it's not so much the letter side of things. I'll sit there, and if I do the healing, I will talk about, there was one the other, I had a session on Tuesday, and I think it was the 13-year-old self came up, and it was a form of protection. So something happened to me at 13 years old, not sure what yet. When I was trying to I was trying to find out why because I was feeling really anxious this week. So I said that to my therapist. So we looked at it, and I got curious about it, and my 13-year-old self came up, and I literally gave over the breakdown I'm just sitting here with my eyes closed talking to him. And it was a breakdown of the last, from when I was 13, what's happened since. And it was to gain that trust. So that's what I'd do with that letter. I would write down what's happened, that I'm a father, that I own businesses, I've got a social media profile, I'm a successful person. Because I feel when you're a teenager, you're thinking so much about the future. Like it's all about when's this going to happen, when's that going to happen, and I'd tell him to slow down. I think, because I think that was one of my biggest things was I was never a patient person. Like I remember my parents had cafes when I was growing up, and they were selling it when I was 18, and I was going to buy it from, and I'm glad I didn't. But like when I didn't do it, I thought that was it. That was my chance. I can't own a business now. I was 18 years old. I did have my first business till I was 33. So yeah, I think that patience is what I learned. So I'd probably explain a lot of that patience and explain what's happened since then and how there's going to be a little bit more pain going along through, but you're going to get through it. Because I always say this too shall pass. So that's a big thing for me.
What was that period like? I'm interested now between 18, not buying the business, to then your first business. Like, what was that period of your life like?
That was a bit up and down. I think I chopped and changed careers a fair bit. So I went from being a chef and then I went into recruitment for disability. So I was doing a lot of disability recruitment. Then I did some recruitment for, it was called like Stream 4. So it was like recruitment for people that were addicts and stuff like that. And then I went into construction and then I was helping apprentices. And then I went into the cafe. So it's kind of like I went a full circle. I tried a bunch of things and then it's like, you know what? I'm here. This is where I belong. So yeah, it was a weird, I kind of, when that cafe thing didn't come about, I just tried a lot of different things.
Was it you trying to find your identity and who you are?
Yeah.
What were some of the struggles of that?
For me, it was, I never really knew who I was ever. Like it was like I said before, I was always in the background. So being in the background, you don't really know who you are as a person. You just kind of blend into the crowd. If someone wants to do something, yeah, let's go do it. Like I never really had that, this is what I want to do moment. So for me, I was figuring out who I was and what I wanted. And I started when I was 14. Like who would have thought, like working in the hospitality industry was what I wanted to do. I never wanted to do that. I hated school. And because my parents owned cafes, I got thrown into being a chef. I never wanted to be a chef. But I think not doing that wouldn't have led me down the path of owning cafes and being in hospitality since then. So I think, yeah, I kind of think I found my purpose when I was 14. I was just a bit lost and didn't know what I wanted. And even to this day, I still think, what else can I do? What else can I do? And I question myself all the time, have I found my purpose? But I truly believe my purpose in life is this social media side of things and helping people in that way.
What within social media is your...
The helping people.
Yeah.
The helping people and continue shining a light on things and being a voice for people. Because that's the way I look at my profile. And I say it all the time, it's, if you see my content being shared, then you know that person's probably talking from a place of pain, but they're not. This is them telling you without telling you that they're hurting. Because that's originally how I started my content, was I'm sharing this as a way for me to get my pain out. And then I've noticed a lot of people will share my content and then they'll message me saying like, this is what I'm going through right now. So I feel like it's them telling their friends or their family without actually saying, hey, I'm struggling. So
I used to have an issue with like people just posting quotes and stuff all the time because I was a big believer in like awareness is great, but how do we take action? And for me now, shifting my mindset to exactly what you said. Yes, it's awareness in posting the quote, but by someone else resharing that, that's an action.
That's the awareness.
They're reaching out. They're reaching out for help. And it's, I think what we need to do now is, and you've just said it there, if you see someone posting a quote, reach out to them because you don't know what they're going through.
Like, so I'm not a big fan of Are You OK Day. Like,
yeah.
I hate that day. And I've been offered to like do things for Are You OK Day in the past. And it's like, no, because like, why should we have one day to reach out? So that's why and that's how my page came about. Like the funny thing for me when I was posting content back then, it was, would I share this? And I was in a place of pain. So that was my whole reasoning. Would I share this? And if I would, I'd post it. So that's when I knew I was in a place of hurt and I was coming from a place of hurt. And then like you see some videos with like 13, 14 million views and it's just pure pain. So it just shows you like there was, I think it had like 250,000 shares on it. So there was 250,000 people in that video hurting. And that's crazy to think like, so yeah, like it's for me, that's the path I need to be on. I need to continue to show people that, yes, this is going to happen. Things are going to because there's things people you look at now, like divorce is pretty high. It's like 50% now. So 50% of couples that get married or divorced, that's huge. That's traumatic in itself. And that's an event that's going to happen to 50% of people. So 1 in 2, realistically, are going to get divorced. So I just want to continue sharing that. Yes, you know what, shit's going to happen, but it's going to be okay. You're going to get through it. You just need some tools to get through it. Again, which comes back down to therapy. I think you get some really good tools from therapy, and I'm trying to share those tools that I've learned now. So that's what I said before, where I'm kind of stuck on, that's why I haven't posted in a couple of days, or I post some old stuff because it's I've got nothing to post because I'm still trying to work out how I'm going to share this tool, how I'm going to share this side that I've learned and simplify it to make it easy for people to digest. Because I think that's what's been the beauty of my content, is I've taken something that was very wordy and very probably medical driven, and I've broken it down to something that's very simple. And then people are like, oh, that's what that means. Now I relate to that.
Yeah.
So it's just,
For me, it's just more so about just documenting the journey.
That's how it started.
Yeah.
It was a virtual journal.
Well-being, health and fitness is a big thing for me. And I believe if everyone was to focus a lot into that, it would help so much with your mental health, because it's all
I'm a massive
connected.
believer of that. I train at my mate's gym. My mate Chad, he's got his gym at North Sydney. And that's been huge for me. I feel like that's been a part of the happiness journey for me, was the therapy plus the gym. And it's true, you become addicted to that feeling. I know, I could walk into that gym and I'm just feeling pretty down, pretty gutted. And then at the end of that session, it's I'm ready to go out for a night out, because it's I'm that happy. For some reason, it just releases those endorphins, and I just I've just done a session, I'm sweating, dripping sweat, but the energy that's in my body, it's it's a good feeling. So it becomes addicting.
You're doing something hard.
You're doing something hard, yeah. So you get that sense of achievement and all that. So it goes hand in hand. The gym, therapy, it all goes hand in hand. And yeah, I've become addicted to that fitness sort of things. I probably just need to fix my eating a bit. Stop.
Well, when you're a chef, it's kind of hard.
It's hard, especially with the cafes. I got there's a lot of desserts and donuts and stuff there. So I think my biggest thing is the coffee. Drinking too much coffee, that milk.
I can't do coffee either. That's all things only.
Really? See, I'm the opposite. For me, it's just a hot drink.
Yeah, okay.
Where it probably used to set off anxiety for me, but I think it's just become your body's used to it kind of thing. So I've had probably 2 today, and I feel great. I don't feel anxiety or anything like that. So where back in the past, I probably just never thought it. I just probably thought when I was younger, when I first had coffee, it probably did trigger my anxiety, but it was probably me just thinking it was the caffeine. You know what I mean? So I think your body just becomes immune to certain things, and that was it.
So as a chef, what's your favorite meal to cook?
I actually enjoy making pasta and making pizza. There's something therapeutic.
Not Italian, bro.
I know. I was married to an Italian for 10 years. No, for me, the pasta, the dough making process, there's something therapeutic about that for some reason. It was just I used to get out of my head when I was making pizza and pasta. I was going through stuff as a chef. So I'd be kneading dough and be bashing the shit out of this dough, and I was probably just getting a release in life. So for me, it was quite therapeutic. But yeah, I love to cook now. I remember a period there I didn't like it, and kind of just got all too much, and it just became a chore, and yeah, I just didn't enjoy it. So I think that was part of my reasoning for getting out of being a chef as well. I did everything young. I was a head chef at 21. So I felt like by the time I was 21, I completed everything I needed to complete in the kitchen. So that's where that patience came in. It was I just went bang through the ranks, and then I was like, okay, I'm 21 now. What can I do? And that's when I went into that recruitment side of things. And I worked weekends, I worked Christmas Day, public holidays, did all that. I was like, okay, I'm going to get a Monday to Friday job. But yeah, now I've come back to that cooking, and I'm loving it now. I've had mates come over for the NRL grand final, and it was I made all these things, and I got food in and did all that and put on a massive spread, and everyone's like, you didn't have to do this. I'm like, no, but I love it. You're in my house, come, welcome. So yeah, it's just, it goes full circle, and now I've got that passion back for it. So I'm looking at that next step where it's am I going to open a restaurant? Am I going to open a bar? Am I going to do something like that? I think, yeah, I want to keep doing the cafes and restaurants because it allows me to do the social media side of things. It frees me up, gives me a bit more of that free time to get out there. So I want to start getting out in the streets of Sydney and talking to people with the social media side of things with a camera and a microphone and start asking, like kind of doing a podcast, but on the street.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be quite kind of be daunting. I think it's a bit scary. I've done it before with my mate Zach when he used to, in Sydney, he used to stand there with a blindfold on and hug people. He made me do it one day and it was the most scariest experience of my life. I remember standing there for 8 minutes like this, eyes closed, had a blindfold on, waiting for someone to hug me. And it took 8 minutes for someone to hug me. And I remember sweating and...
That's probably why they didn't give you a hug, bro.
But it was once I got that first hug, that was it. It just flooded through. There was like 30 minutes of hugs. So I want to get back out and do that stuff with the public. I think the place I'm at in life now where I'm not scared to show myself and talk to people and do all that. I think I want to get out there. I think like I keep coming back. I keep thinking in my head that I'm going to do this. And the one question that keeps coming back to me is I want to ask people if they're happy or not. And then ask why. So I think I'm going to probably hit the streets of Sydney soon and with a microphone and camera and start having little mini podcasts with people.
That's exciting, bro.
Yeah, so I think I might try and do that.
You mentioned you're not a very patient man, but you're a father of two. What has your
Two
patience been like now?
Test it.
And what's it like being a father?
Test it. I love being a father. I definitely think kids are game changers in life. They're bigger than you, like type of thing. So I think it gets rid of that selfishness in life. For me, it was these kids have given me purpose in life and everything I do is for those two girls. But they test your patience and I'm trying to gentle parent a bit better than what I have been. And it's hard. And I feel like I'll probably get a little bit calmer these days of what my parents through sometimes. But it's as a single parent, it's hard because at 50% of the time I'm mum and dad. And the same as my ex-wife, she's mum and dad 50% of the time. So it's hard for her as well.
Do you feel like that affects kids though? When one parent kind of has to play both roles?
I don't think so. I think if both kids are loved, it's fine. Like I know there's a lot of broken households out there and I did put up a video not long ago where it was like my biggest fear in life has become a reality where it's my kids are coming from a broken home and I read the comments on that video and it just kind of eased me a little bit where it was like, you know what, you can't look at it as a broken home. It's 2 happy homes is better than 1 toxic home.
I think that takes great self-awareness because you got people that were staying in relationships, toxic relationships.
I was one of them.
For the sake of the kids.
Yeah.
And it's like...
me and my ex-wife, we were one of them.
It impacts the kids at the end of the day.
It does. So, and I look at my kids now and like they're happy. They're happy to be at my house. They're happy to be at her house. They get 2 different birthdays. They get 2 Christmases, like type of thing. So, and that's all it is. It's just everything I do now in life is for those 2 girls. Every decision I make in life is for those 2 girls. So I think they become bigger than you. It gives you that purpose. You lose that selfishness a bit. Mm-hmm. And you'd know as a father yourself, like your motivation is your kids.
100%.
And everyone asks me, like, and I tell everyone, you got to have a why. Everyone's like, I don't know what my why is. I'm like, I guarantee you have a why in life. My why is my kids. Everything I do is for them and my content in my social media. Like I wouldn't post anything that can come back and give them grief. And same as my ex, I wouldn't do anything that would affect her. So you've got to have that why in life and those girls are that why. And I've got to keep pushing now. So the businesses, they're for those girls.
You're building the foundation.
I'm building the empire for them type of thing. So I'm a big believer of that. And I want those kids to have everything I didn't have. So the way I parent them is the way my parents didn't parent me. So I tell them I love them. I tell them I'm proud of them. Like my daughter would draw me a picture and it's like, oh, that's beautiful. I'm so proud of you for doing that. Where I never got that from my parents. So for me, that's what I'm doing with my kids. I'm parenting different and I'm going to tell them I love them. I'm going to tell them 300 times in a day that I love them. I'm going to tell them I'm proud of them. I'm going to give them kisses. I'm going to give them cuddles. Like they're going to get over the top love because I didn't get anything. And I think I don't want my kids to heal from the childhood I had to heal from. So me doing all this healing work on myself is going to benefit them.
Break the cycle.
I'm breaking the cycle.
Not pass down the trauma.
And I think my therapist said I've got till they're about 6 years old. So I think I've got 2 years left. I've got to break this cycle within 2 years. And I feel like I have already with certain things, but there's some other things I need to work on. But I'm doing everything for those girls.
Does that put pressure on you?
It does internally.
Yeah.
Internally. And I don't tell it to anyone, but it's more of a pressure for myself.
Yeah.
And I'd rather put that, I thrive under pressure. Like that's my thing. And I think that's that whole, I thrived in the chaos as a kid. I thrive in the pressure. If there's not something chaotic going on in life, then I'm kind of getting bored. So I use that pressure now instead of chaos, I use the pressure. But yeah, I want those kids to not heal from a childhood that I healed from.
What are some of the lessons that your 2 girls have taught you about life?
They've taught me patience. They have taught me some patience. They definitely have. They've probably taught me a lot about being calm as well. Being calm in certain situations. Like I watch my oldest daughter and like my youngest will be pushing, kicking and doing whatever she wants to. And she's calm. Like she's like, no. Like she does all that. So I look at, they're 2 different people. It's great to watch. But they've definitely taught me that calm side of life, and they've taught me to be more present. Because I look at it and it's like, she's 4, my oldest. And it's like yesterday, she felt like she was just born. So it's like, they've taught me that side of it where it's be grateful for and live in the moment and be present. Because yeah, watching them grow up, it's the greatest thing. I just watch them become little girls at the moment. But it's also heartbreaking. I find it's very heartbreaking seeing them grow up. Like,
You don't want them to grow up.
I'm terrified for the day they get a boyfriend for the first time. I feel sorry for that boy. Have you ever seen that Bad Boys movie?
Yeah.
That's me. I'm doing that 100. I'm getting a gun. I'm not, but yeah, like that's what it is for me. It's like I'm terrified for the day they get a boyfriend because it's like I know what men are like. I know what boys are like. I was one of them once upon a time. But no, it's such a good thing watching them grow up, but it's also a scary thing watching them grow up.
So you got to cherish every single moment.
That's what it taught me, the presence, be present with them.
And no matter what's going, I said this to my partner the other day, I was like, yes, financially, or we might have different issues going in life.
Money comes, money goes.
But at the time I was saying that, my daughter's jumping around dancing and I'm like, we have a happy, healthy family. Like, what are we so concerned about?
Yeah.
She's not worried. Why are we worried?
Don't worry, the bills are always going to be there.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. They're always going to be there. They're never not going to, you're going to pay one bill and 2 weeks later, another one's going to come in. So yeah, and I think I had a very similar moment, but I was on my own where it was like, I was so stressed about work stuff and bills at home and all that. Like, it was just one of those, you know, when you have those months and like as a business owner, you have those months where like just everything comes in at once, the electricity bill, the rent, like stock, everything. It was like it would have been like a $50,000 spend month for me. So it was huge. And I'm like, what am I going to do? And my daughter was sitting there, Coco Melon, of course, jumping up and down, singing. And I took that moment and I was like, yeah, like, why am I taking life so seriously? Like, and I think that's when things change. I think if you think about it too much and you're sitting on like, I got to do this, I got to do that, like, and you're kind of giving yourself an anxiety attack over it, I feel like you're attracting more of it.
Yeah.
So it's like, I've got to learn to let it go. You know what? Those bills are still going to be there. And luckily with electricity bills and that, they give you a bit of grace.
Yes.
So if I can't afford it this month, I'll pay it at the start of next month. So that was one thing, that patience side of thing comes into it as well, where it's a hard one. It's a hard one.
Do you feel having kids has helped in the healing journey? Because it's allowed you to be a kid again, really? And like, have that upbringing that you kind of want.
Yeah. So when it comes to the inner child work, when I sit down and I went to Kmart yesterday. We went to Westfield yesterday just to go to Woolies to get stuff for dinner. Ended up not even getting to Woolies, and we ended up going to Kmart, and I bought a scooter, a bike, a foam pit.
They got you wrapped around.
They got me wrapped. Mate. They got me wrapped. And we bought this little foam pit, and it's like I was sitting there playing with them and doing all that, and it's like my inner child came out and played with them at that same moment. Like, and I was laughing with them and I was joking. I was riding on these little kids' scooters and jumping in this little ball pit with them, and it was like when they went to bed at like 7 o'clock, it was like I was sitting on the lounge just sitting doing what I usually do, and it was like my inner child was like, I felt my inner child came out and played. And I think that's healing for me.
Yeah.
Because I felt more at peace last night, and I had a great night's sleep, and I admit lately, like, I've been having terrible sleep, but last night I had a great sleep, and I truly believe my inner child was out playing with my kids yesterday. because I feel like I didn't have much of a childhood. I feel like I grew up very quickly. So I feel like that was big for me last night, where it's like, he gets his chance to be a kid again. So I feel like whenever I do this stuff with my kids, I get to be a kid again too. So I enjoy it. It's good fun. It's good fun being a parent. I don't care what anyone says.
I think
it's the best. It's the most rewarding thing. It's a pain in the ass sometimes, but it is the most rewarding thing in life. I still, to this day, say it's my biggest achievement in his life. My biggest achievement in life is becoming a father.
Same here. I even said to you the other day when we were speaking about like terrible twos and stuff like that. I'm like, I wouldn't have it any other way.
No, you can't. You can't have it any other way. 100%. It's testing. It is testing, the terrible twos, especially when they learn no. Especially like me being a stubborn person and me going through what I've gone through. It's like hearing no. It's like you want to fight them.
Yes.
But I look at both my girls and I'm like, holy shit! Like these two kids, like they're going to cause me some grief. I think because it's like I'm getting some payback here.
Yeah.
So they both got my personality. I think Sienna, my eldest, has got my sassiness, and then Charlize has got my stubbornness. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I'm going to be interested to see how the next 5 years plays out.
Yeah. My daughter is full of attitude. Her favorite thing at the moment is no, go away. And she does this.
Yeah. They must be teaching the same things in the daycares, I reckon, because no, go away, and the pointing the finger.
Like,
actually, no, I had last night, both have them going, shh, they're shushing me. Like, what? So I don't know where that's coming from, but I think it's fun. Like, it's funny. I had my eldest swear the other day and I laughed and I was like, you can't say that. But I laughed initially.
Yeah.
And she laughed and I was like, look, it's funny, but you know what? These are adult words. You can't say that. So I don't know where she got that from.
Yeah.
It'll be me.
Yeah. Our daughter, we tell our dog to shut up. And when our daughter now, the dog barks, the daughter goes, up, up.
Yeah. I think I was on a work call once at work and I think something happened at work. I was like, fuck. And I heard my daughter say it and I was just like,
they're sponges, eh?
like, yeah, sponges. And my head just dropped and I was like, I felt so guilty, but I laughed. And then it's like, and then I had to sit her down and have this conversation where it's like, look, Daddy said this, it wasn't good. He was angry type of thing. And you can't say that. Like, don't bring it up around your mother. Don't bring it up at school. Like, this stays between me and you.
Yeah. What are some of the biggest lessons you want to pass down to your girls?
My biggest thing is I want to pass down, like, there is going to be troubles in life, but I want to equip them with the tools that I never had, where it was teach them to regulate their emotions. So I think that's a big thing when you're younger. If you don't get taught to regulate your emotions, and I think that's where everything starts, when you chuck those temper tantrums and you can't learn to calm yourself down and you've got to go through all that. So I think regulating your emotions and then teaching them that stuff is going to happen, but you're going to get through it. So teaching them that resiliency. And I think that'll put them on a good place. But I also want to teach them the value of hard work and not everything's going to get handed to you. Because I feel like the kids of today, they just expect everything handed to them.
Overnight success.
Overnight. That's the power of social media. You can
instant gratification.
You can be an overnight success on social media, even though it takes, like, you look at both of us, like, you look at you 4 years and you're starting to see success now on this podcast. And you look at me, like, I've been doing this for 3 years and I was an overnight success in December last year.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It just blew up for me all of a sudden and I was what you call an overnight success, but they don't see those years of hard work.
They don't see the journey behind it.
They don't see all those parts where you want to give it all up and you think life's easier without it all and doing all that. So I want to teach them that resiliency and that hard work will count and just to go for everything. I want to teach them to chase their dreams. I feel like the generation today, it's a big dream killer. You've got to follow a certain way and you got to do this and you got to do that. And so I want to teach them to be that individual that they are.
Be the black sheep.
I was the black sheep of the family, so why not? I feel like the black sheeps of the family are the most successful ones.
I get to say.
So,
if people wanted to follow your journey, where's the best place to find you? Is it Instagram?
Instagram is my number one tool. I use all the social media, but I feel like I hang out on Instagram a bit more. I feel like Instagram is where you can really get some good connections because you've got your messages, you've got your comments, and there's subscriptions on there, there's channels and threads and all that. So I use Instagram quite a bit. And so I think if anyone wants to reach out or wants to follow the journey, reach out on Instagram.
So I'll put your link in the description.
Perfect.
We have a closing tradition on the podcast where the previous guest leaves a question for the next guest without knowing who it is. Okay. Now, this one's pretty deep. It's what's the number one thing you feel the most shame about, and you only have 1 minute to explain it.
For me, it's my marriage. It's my marriage ending. I think I have a lot of shame around that because, like, and I have that Lebanese culture where it's you don't separate. But I think there's a stigma around marriage ending. So I think people think when your marriage ends, you got a lot of baggage. Also being a single parent, like I think there's a lot of shame not shame, but like I'm probably ashamed that it didn't work, and we probably could have done more to make it work. But that ship sailed now. So I think for me, the shame is the marriage ending.
Did you want to make it work?
No, that's the problem. So I think I let it run its course, and I think
it got too far.
It got too far for me, and it was just I didn't know who I was as a person. I looked in the mirror and I saw a skeleton. My eyes were like drawn in, and my face was drawn in. So I didn't want to make it work. I knew there was better out there for me, and not as there was better person. Like there was just better out there for me. But I think the shame part is I probably should have done more in the marriage to make it work before it ended. So
what would you have done differently?
Probably wouldn't have been focused so much on work, because I know a lot of it was when the cafes opened and stuff like that. So I think for me I turned all my attention into work and making myself successful. So I think it should have been, I forgot about her. So I think looking back on that, I probably would have had date nights with her and gave her more compliments and stuff like that. So I think that's what it was for me. There's stuff I know I could have done during that marriage. It's like it's ended now, but back then I should have done more back then. So
yeah, relationships
they're hard. They're hard. And I think if you don't want to work on it.
Yeah, especially when kids are involved too.
But you know what? The marriage breakdown was my biggest blessing. Where I am today. So I'm standing on my own 2 feet, and I'm proud of that. So
it's been an amazing journey for yourself, man.
It has, yeah.
Excited to see what the future holds.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Man, thank you so much for jumping on today.
It's been a great conversation. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a really good it's different. It's been a different conversation than what I expected. So I kind of touched on some things that I probably wasn't going to speak about. So I'm glad what I did.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it.